The robbery had been going on for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. 6 armed men were hitting 3 stores simultaneously, holding over 200 customers hostage inside Metropolitan Mall. Police hadn't arrived yet. The mall manager was screaming in panic. Nobody can stop them. Then a man slowly emerged from around the corner and said calmly, "I can." Everyone looked at him. Frank Rodriguez, the overweight, out-of-breath 52-year-old security guard. "You," the manager laughed. "You can barely make it through a shift." Frank smiled. "There's something I never told anyone here." "What?" "I'm not actually just a security guard. Welcome to Silent Warriors. Let us know which city you're watching from today." 6 hours earlier, Saturday morning, Frank Rodriguez clocked in for another weekend shift. His navy blue security uniform stretched tight across his frame, his walk the familiar slow shuffle that earned him the nickname Turtle Frank. "Morning, Frank," called Jessica from the jewelry counter. "Moving slower than usual today?" Mike snickered. "My dead grandfather moves faster than him." Frank nodded politely but said nothing. He'd learned that responding to mockery only invited more. Instead, he continued his patrol, noting the white panel van in the loading area. Same van, 3 days, different license plates each time. More concerning were 6 men he'd been tracking. Different builds, but moving with subtle military coordination. They never bought anything, just watched. "Frank?" Derek Hoffman approached with his clipboard. "We need to discuss your performance." Derek launched into his speech about response times and incompetence, but Frank's attention was on the van, movement that confirmed his suspicions. "Are you listening?" Derek demanded. "You're concerned about my capabilities." "Exactly. Maybe it's time for early retirement?" Frank tracked 2 suspicious men now positioned at exits. "Derek, listen carefully. In 2 hours, this mall will be hit by a professional crew. 6 men, military training." Derek stared. "How could you know that?" "Because I've been watching them, and I recognize the pattern." "Frank, you're a security guard, not a tactical expert." Frank nodded slowly. "You're right. I'm just a security guard." As Derek walked away confused, Frank calculated response times and escape routes. Skills he'd spent 15 years trying to forget were awakening. By 9:30 a.m., the 6-man team had taken final positions, 2 others, random shoppers, to Frank, a military unit preparing for assault. "Control, this is Frank. Coordinated suspicious activity. Recommend police presence." Tom Chen's bored voice. "You can't call police every time something makes you nervous." "This is different. Stick to your patrol." Frank checked his watch. 30 minutes until everything changed. 9:45 a.m., 15 minutes to chaos. The mall filled with weekend families, maximum civilians, minimum security response, exactly as the crew planned. "Frank Rodriguez!" Manager Peterson approached angrily. "Derek says you're claiming we'll be robbed. Any evidence?" "Yes, sir. Show me." Frank gestured toward electronics. "Black jacket, 30 years old. Checking his watch every 90 seconds for an hour. Could be anyone waiting. He hasn't looked at merchandise once. Eyes track employees, cameras, exits, never products." Peterson studied the man Frank described. Something in the guard's certainty penetrated his skepticism. "How can you know what they're thinking?" "Because 15 years ago, I did the same thing where getting it wrong meant death." Frank's radio erupted with Jessica's panic. "Security to jewelry. Problem." Frank moved with sudden purpose. They found Jessica shaking behind her counter. A man asked specific security questions, response times, alarms, deposits, professional questions. "Which direction?" Frank asked. "Food court. But how did you know?" "It's starting." In security, Tom Chen reviewed monitors with usual boredom. "Tom, immediate lockdown procedures." "For what?" "Coordinated robbery. 6 suspects, military training. Monitor 7, watch gray hoodie." Tom saw normal shoppers. "Watch him stop at each store 15 seconds without browsing, timing security responses." Tom's expression changed as he saw the coordination. Monitor 12, woman at ATM. 18 minutes, no transaction, perfect sightlines to 3 exits. As if summoned, alarms blared simultaneously from 3 stores. Multiple alarms. Tom's stress showed. "How did you—" Frank picked up emergency radio. His voice carried new authority. "All units, Frank Rodriguez. Coordinated robbery in progress. Begin civilian evacuation through north exits. We don't have protocols. We do now. Through monitors, chaos spread while 6 figures moved with precision. Police response 8 minutes. These guys gone in 5, Tom said. Frank stood, complete physical transformation visible. Military bearing replaced the slouch. Not if I stop them first. Frank moved through panicked crowds with impossible fluidity. In the chaos, no one noticed the overweight guard moving like a trained operator. First objective, electronics store. 2 masked figures emptied displays while a third maintained overwatch. Security office, beginning suspect neutralization, monitor feeds, continue evacuation. Wait for backup, Tom's panicked voice. Negative, time critical. Frank studied the lookout's pattern. Every 15 seconds, left, right, store check. Military habits created predictable behavior. On the next glance, he moved. Silent approach despite his bulk. Skill learned where sound meant death. The lookout never sensed danger until Frank's arm closed around his throat. Unconscious in seconds. Frank searched him. Taser, zip ties, earpiece. Thieves, not killers. He took the radio. Marcus, status report, demanded a voice. Frank matched the lookout's tone. Northeast perimeter clear. Copy, 2 minutes to extraction. Inside electronics, 2 thieves worked backs to entrance. Frank entered low, using displays for cover. First thief never knew what hit him. Same blood choke. Second thief spun as his partner collapsed, reaching for weapon. Frank already moving, crushing grip on his wrist. Easy way or hard way? Wild swing. Frank ducked, applied joint lock. Man screamed, dropped. Hard way it is. Secured both with zip ties. Stay down until police all clear. Radio crackled. Team 2, status. Radio silence, Team 1. Team 1 repositioning, continue planned. Team 3 moving primary target. Jewelry store next. Highest value, most dangerous for civilians. Frank used maintenance corridors behind stores, emerged through service entrance, heard systematic work, urgent voices. 30 seconds and gone. Where's Marcus? Frank assessed. 2 men backs to him, Jessica zip-tied as hostage. Changed everything. Found sound controls, triggered demonstration mode on multiple watches. Deafening cacophony erupted. Both thieves spun, disoriented. Frank vaulted counter, landed between them and Jessica. Surprise! First thief lunged with knife. Frank sidestepped, used momentum to crash him through display case. Second, grabbed Jessica, blade to throat. Back off or she dies. Frank raised hands, didn't retreat. Nobody gets hurt. You should have minded business. Protecting people is my business. Frank calculated angles, distances, Jessica's position, knife angle, unconscious thief stirring. Here's what happens, Frank said conversationally. You let her go, I pretend this was misunderstanding. Nervous laugh. I've got knife, hostage, all advantages. No, Frank said quietly, true nature showing. You have 3 seconds for right choice. 3 seconds for what? Walk out or get carried out. Frank's tone made confidence waver. Who are you really? Predatory smile. Frank Rodriguez, United States Marine Corps, Force Reconnaissance, 3 tours, close quarters combat specialist. You just made biggest mistake of your career. Instant transformation, lightning precision. Jessica held at knife point 1 moment, free the next. Thief on ground with weapon in Frank's hand. How? 15 years training doesn't disappear because you change uniforms. Just waits when needed. Radio crackled with voice that chilled Frank's blood. Rodriguez? Frank Rodriguez? Really you? Frank knew that voice. Hello, Marcus Kane. Been a long time. Staff Sergeant Frank Rodriguez, Force Recon. What are odds? Frank's jaw tightened. Still wrong side, Kane? We all found ways to make living after Corps didn't need us. Mall security quite a step down. Jessica stared at Frank as military discussion painted impossible picture. Call off team, walk away. Doesn't have to escalate. Kane laughed. Already has. I remembered something. You never could leave civilians in danger. Frank's stomach dropped. What are you talking about? 3rd floor food court. Took minute to recognize you but remembered your bleeding heart reputation. Frank moving toward escalator. Through glass walls, worst fear confirmed. family with young children held at gunpoint. Nice family. Kids maybe 8, 10 years old. Shame if something happened wrong place, wrong time. Frank reached third level, took observation position. Kane chose well. Open space, multiple exits, multiple fields of fire. Direct assault meant unacceptable civilian risk. Here's how this works, Rodriguez. My boys and I walk clean, family goes home. You play hero, kids become orphans. Kane positioned remaining men in triangle around family. Overlapping fire, multiple escapes, textbook hostage control. Clock's ticking. Hero complex that got you discharged or letting sleeping dogs lie? Deliberate provocation, reminder of mission where Frank chose civilians over objectives, costing everything. Kane, you made critical error. What's that? Assumed I'd choose between stopping you and saving them. Frank calculated angles, timing. Former teammate always good, but Frank better. More importantly, learned patience. Security office, trigger food court fire suppression on my signal. What are you planning? Just be ready. Frank moved through service corridors using 3 years infrastructure knowledge. Kane's men watched obvious approaches, not maintenance access. Kane, you forgot something about force recon training. What's that? We never attack from expected direction. Hit sprinklers, Tom. Now. Food court erupted as fire suppression activated. Deafening alarms, torrential water, zero visibility. In artificial storm, Frank moved like ghost. First guard unconscious before seeing threat, second down before reacting. Kane spun toward Frank's position, tactical advantage evaporated. How? Kane gasped as Frank appeared behind him. Experience. Frank helped terrified family to safety while Kane found himself restrained. Police arrived to find 6 suspects secured. Robbery stopped by single guard. Sir, how did you neutralize 6 armed suspects? Detective Morrison asked. Frank looked around food court where families reunited. Employees emerged from hiding. I used to be someone else. Peterson appeared. FBI wants to talk about your military record. Figured they would. Jessica approached. Frank, we owe you apology. No apology necessary. You couldn't have known. Why didn't you tell us who you really were? Frank looked around mall where normal life resumed. Because sometimes best way to serve is be invisible, be underestimated, be exactly what people expect until moment they need you to be something else. Kane called out as police led him away. This isn't over, Rodriguez. Yes, it is. 3 months later, Frank Rodriguez still worked at Metropolitan Mall, but carried himself differently, people treated him differently. Transformation couldn't be undone. He'd been offered private security positions, law enforcement consulting, even military return. Declined them all. Because sometimes most important battles aren't fought in war zones or classified operations. Sometimes they're fought in shopping malls on Saturday mornings, protecting families, keeping peace where people should feel safe. Frank Rodriguez learned being hero wasn't about uniform you wore or recognition received. It was about being ready when ordinary people needed extraordinary help. And in Metropolitan Mall, Frank Rodriguez was exactly where he belonged.